That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, coming at you live from the lab. You see, we already got RobbieG and the Man Cave. We got Anna posted up, ready to go over this 2-1 week for the Capitals and go over this upcoming Canadian road trip. RobbieG, how you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing okay. It's a rough night in the man cave, but I'm excited to be here with you guys. I'm hoping that the rest of my family starts to feel a little better. They're all a little under the weather, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that it's a better week than last week. We got some victories to talk about. I know in all facets of last week's show, it was all losses, including watching one live. That was rough, but we'll break that down in just a second. But at least the rest of the week went well for the Capitals, and for the Wizards also 2-1, and hoping to get Brian Brennan back on the show at the very end to talk about the fact that DC United is 2-0 to start the season. So that's pretty exciting. Carol, I know that you've got some football news. You want to do it before the hockey talk, or you want to do it at the end?
I said let's go ahead and do the Capitals now, and I finish up with football because I didn't share it all to the Capitals group, so I know they don't want to hear us talking about no.
Yeah, football. Okay, that sounds good. Well, Anna, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much. It was a fantastic weekend with some gorgeous weather. I'm coming into my birthday week. My daughter actually celebrated her birthday on the 1st, but she took some of her friends to go see Batman yesterday, which was great. They loved it. I know it was very long, but I didn't go. My husband took them, but it seemed like it was a good birthday celebration all around for being 11.
Nice.
Well, yeah.
Congratulations to her. That's awesome.
And I figured maybe you had seen it, Robbie or Carol.
I have not seen it. No, I do. I do want to see it, but I may have to wait for it to be on HBO Max. I just don't know if I can get out of the house at this point to see a movie, but it looks good. It's got good reviews. A lot of my close friends who I really trust about movies say it's really good. So I look forward to catching it when I can for sure. But Carol, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm in here watching the Boston-LA game. Boston is up 2-1 with 15:50 left in the third. They're on the power play right now. Feeling good, beautiful Monday. We got some good hockey, got a couple of football updates for the Commanders fans. And I know you guys got the NBA taken care of. So I'm feeling pretty good, new month, finally spring's right around the corner, tax time right around the corner. So, it's a good time to be a car salesman.
Right.
How are the car sales going, Carol? I've been thinking about you.
It's been a little rough last month, but I came through, got enough to do what I needed to do. I already got a couple of sales for this month, so if anybody's in the market for a new used vehicle, come on down, check me out down in Waldorf Honda, 2450 Crane Highway. New credit, bad credit, no credit. Give us a chance to earn your business so we can get it done for you.
Awesome.
But all right, let's go ahead and get in some cash talk. I don't want to do too many plugs for all the stuff I'm going to be here all night. But the Cavs definitely had a good week, 2-1. Unfortunately, the game we were covering last week was an unfortunate loss to Toronto. They were actually playing also. I think they're up 3-2. I just saw a highlight. So, but it was definitely an impressive week after that. So, Anna, I'll let you go ahead and get into the breakdown, and we can break down these games and preview this most important road trip coming up.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I don't know. I didn't write down the Toronto game stats because
I think we can honestly, people want to see our live reaction to that and how devastated we were. I highly recommend them checking out last week's show because you saw the ups or the downs to start, the ups, and then the crashing back down.
Tom Wilson had 2 goals.
That's
and it was episode 43 of this season. So I thought that was kind of fitting that he would score 2 goals on that night. It's pretty rough. Let's talk about the 2 good ones. And if people want to see that negative one, they can check out last week's show.
All right, because I was like, I don't need to recap that one. So on Thursday, Carolina came up to play the Capitals. Wow. Honestly, this was the first time I can say in a while that we saw a full 60 minutes of Caps playing, and how fantastic was it? Kuzi scores the first goal in the first of the power play goal at 18:33, unassisted. Awesome. Faravari, who I'm starting to just adore, even though he's 42, not quite 43, but that's okay. I'm still loving it. He scores his fourth at 8:30, assisted by Sherry and Hathaway. And then Obi gets his 33rd with a power play goal at 15:05, assisted by Carlson and Oshie. So it was a welcome back Oshie, welcome back Mantha kind of night, which I know we were kind of happy all around. Closing out the third with Orloff's 8, assisted by Sherry and Schultz. 3 stars. You've got Vanacek, outstanding shutout for that goalie, Kuzi and Faravari. So this game, to me, I will say, I will be 100% honest. I went into this with high hopes, but wouldn't be surprised if we kind of had our asses handed to us, because it is Carolina and their record is fantastic and just who they are. But I will say, when this team came out on that first period, I was like, that's it. Like, we've got this. Did I expect a shutout? No. Was I beyond thrilled? Oh, hell yeah. This is a great game. This is what they needed, to be honest. So I hope both of you saw it.
Yes, I definitely did. But Carol, I'll get your take first.
This definitely was a beautiful game to watch as a Caps fan. The loss to the Toronto the first on Monday, I felt, because they were getting pieces back. That's why we saw some of the inconsistencies, and I felt like this game was solidifying that, okay, everybody's back. We got a game under our belt. Let's go out here and play Capitals hockey. And even though Mantha didn't get a goal in this game, he was key and being a net front presence, which we haven't seen from this team in a long time. So it was good to see him back out there. I think he had like 16 minutes that game, and for his first game back after over 4 months. That's saying a lot for his conditioning and being out there and, being able to, contribute to some of the goals being scored, even though he didn't get an assist or a goal. He was instrumental in getting those dirty goals in front. And the fact that the power play is, starting to get back going. I believe they scored, 16 goals in the last power play goals in the last 16 games. We were complaining about the power play earlier, but we see how important TJ Oshie is to the power play. Because even when we got Nikki back, it was still, not effective. But Oshie's back. His intangibles and what he does in that bumper position is so key, that he's deadly to pass, he's deadly to shoot, and he just makes things happen. And we saw in the first goal of this game, he was instrumental on that power play of keeping the puck in, going to fighting and, bumping it over to the half wall for it to get back in the rotation, and didn't get cleared. And it led to the goal not even 10 seconds later. So I think everything was clicking this game, and got to take your head off to Double V. He was locked in. And if you, watched it on my feed, if you saw some of the words that Brian McClellan said before this game, talking about, the goalies having to step up and, free agency, the trade deadline and everything. And I felt this game that Double V, took that personally. He went out there and showed that, hey, I can go out there and do it and get a shutout against Carolina, the top team in the division.
It's huge.
I mean, that was a statement right there. And it was definitely a good game to watch as a Capitals fan, because, like you said, they played a full 60 minutes. And this type of hockey right here, that's playoff hockey that you can go on long runs with. If they can take this tape and replay it every day, they play like that, they can go a long way in the playoffs.
I agree. I was so happy to see all the Russians participate and contribute. And I know they've been going through such a hard time. And, we didn't really talk about it last week, and I won't get too far into it, but there's just such a fractured fan base right now between people who are like, you got to condemn Ovi, because he's got an Instagram profile picture with Putin. And then there's the other side. They're like, and he's getting it from all sides. And meanwhile, he's in a scoring slump and, different people that were sponsoring him are no longer actually going to, continue the same level of sponsorship. And he's got all that weighing on him. And here he goes and he just produces. And Kuzi, too. I mean, people forget it's easy. Ovechkin's the spotlight and everyone's talking about him. But you got to figure that Kuzi and Orlov feel it in a lot of the same ways. Because I'm sure that Ovechkin is one of their closest friends. And so they're witnessing this firsthand behind the scenes. And they've got to produce as well, right? Yeah. So Kuzi gets that power play goal. It's considered unassisted. I question this call on the sheet. Technically, no player on the other team touched it between two players of ours touching it and then him scoring the goal. But, I don't know. Questionable call there by the scorekeeper. And I know it's a home scorekeeper, but they've actually cost us a couple of assists in the past as well. But anyway, Kuzi, they say it's unassisted power play, 16th of the season. I love getting scoring from the defense. It's a beautiful goal by Favari. And then Ovi on the power play from his, spot. John Carlson and TJ Oshie, are playing well. A lot of people have been calling for John Carlson's head for these last couple of weeks. And a lot of people, I know you don't read the comments, but a lot of people want John Carlson out. And I just I don't see it, but people are trying to convince me of it. But
do they see what he does defensively and offensively? We saw the highlight of where Nicky and where Ovi is points with the franchise. John Carlson's number 6 on that list for points as a defenseman. And he's solid when he plays defense. Some of these folks, I think they either smoking crack or they smoking meth.
Well, he gets burned a couple of times, and people it feeds into their narrative, right?
But so I think honestly, what frustrates me about Carlson is if he has an amazing game, everyone's like, "Oh, 74, fantastic, keep it up, the best thing we ever did." He has one mishap, one kind of not so great game, and everyone's like, trade him. It's like, for some reason, he's a target. I like him. I always have. I think that he is, he's a force. And I think that he is someone that needs to be on that line to just help. My God, like the other players that are, from Hershey that are coming or whomever he's going to be paired with. I've got no complaints. I have no complaints with John Carlson. And so people just need to shut it.
For the last, 3-4 years, he's been in the North.
Exactly.
Come on, y'all.
Let it go.
I know. And he had some bad games. I'm not saying that he's
everybody
perfect.
has bad.
I know, but I've never been calling for it. But I want, because I know I'm going to be that intermediary, because Carol doesn't even know it, but I'm sure, Anna, you've seen it, right? Like, as you sit on some of these message boards. Yeah. Like,
oh yeah. That's just it. Like I have to personally just do something like read, but not allow myself to react, because I'm all kinds of fired up because people are such jerks. But
yeah, especially the big rooms where I do share this post too, and I encourage them to come on and debate us about this if they'd like to. But I share it and I run, because it's like it's not a group. I mean, there's some people that keep on every night saying, whenever VTech wins, see it, I'm glad it's not Sammy. I'm like, why do you have to have Sammy's name in your mouth? Celebrate the fucking win. Like,
exactly.
It frustrates me. It's like, I get it that Double V's doing better than Sammy. You don't have to constantly say it on every comment and every fucking post. It's old.
Yeah.
Just celebrate the motherfucking victory. Like, I don't like cursing, but it's it makes me so frustrated. Right, Carol? Like, it's just like, why can't people ever be happy? It's the same fans as the Washington football team. Like, it's the same.
You gotta get out these groups, man. You got to get out these groups, man. I learned, bro. You cannot be in these groups. Like, when folks comment, if it's a good comment, I reply, I like it. If it's a dumb comment, I just leave it alone, because I know it's not going to turn anything productive. And I tell them all, I'm not going to sit here typing keys on here. If you want to debate me online. We can come on the show, or we can do a special show, and I can just shut you down on your own private show. I'm not going to sit here typing buttons.
I would love that.
Right.
So, I mean, if I have to come into one of these groups, we have to have like a round table, and I sit all these people down and try to get them to calm down.
But I would, but wouldn't that be like flipping fantastic to be like, yeah, bring it. Come on.
Yeah.
You're hiding behind your keyboard. And now we're only asking you to come on a podcast and yeah, camera's on, but come on, step up and tell us what you really think, because I'm over the goalie thing. I legit, and Robbie, I know exactly who you're talking about because I saw your comment on.
And I'm going to continue to comment every time he mentions his name.
Every
time. I would say that every time, shut up. If V's winning, just stop saying it. I'm going to literally be as annoying as he is to everybody else, to him, until it gets some sense in his head.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I mean, it's like, I will 100% own up to humble pie with Orlov. Drives me crazy. But you know what? When he does well, you acknowledge it, whatever, we move on. But for some of these people to be, ready to just, Carlson's got to go. This person's got to go. Shut up.
It's crazy.
Not taking it.
Yeah. So, and then the last thought I had was Orlov, as you mentioned, scored that last goal at the very end there. And he's been playing really well lately.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited. Also, I want to give a shout out to Connor Sherry. So he gets 2 assists in this game, right?
No, and the next one.
No, he gets 2 assists in this game.
In this one?
He has 2 assists in this game to get to
100,
to get to 100 assists for his career. And in the next game, he gets 2 goals to get to 100 goals in his career in back-to-back games. I've never seen it happen where he actually hits the 200-point milestone with his 100th goal, Carol, which I think, as a numbers nerd, I thought that was the coolest thing. I've never seen that before, that he hit 2 milestones at the same time with 1 goal. But just, he had a great week. I mean, he had the 2 assists in this one, which were crucial. We'll talk about the 2 goals shortly, but I don't think that he gets enough credit, and he's a great player. And he's been crucial for us. I mean,
but if you see, he was on the 3rd line. Remember when they started him on the top line of a week ago, and with him and his speed, it's he's not a top line player, but they was rewarding him for the hard work. But when he's in that 2nd or 3rd, line in that spot, he has the speed that can take advantage of any defender and catch him flat-footed. And I want to talk about that in the next game with number 45. I know y'all probably know more about him, but I like that kid. I can't remember his name, but we're going to talk about him too. But Sherry, he's definitely a key piece. You got to have those gritty guys that contribute, that hustle, that definitely have speed, that can take advantage of like I said, a mishap. You get on the 3rd line, you're not necessarily getting the top hand on defense, so you might get a defender that's not at the top game and take advantage of it. And that's what we saw in this game.
I agree. Well, let's get into this 5-2 game against Seattle, and I'll break down the scores, and then we'll talk about it some more.
All right, sounds good. So Saturday, the Caps welcomed the Kraken. First period at 11:30. Tom Wilson scores his 18th with a backhand assisted by Ovechkin and Kuzi. And I'm just going to say, absolutely beautiful, fantastic replay. If you haven't seen it, the highlight, this was just amazing. Not just because it's Tommy, but because it's Tommy, let's just say. But it was, oh my God, way to go, Tommy. 34 seconds later, Orlov gets his number 9 for his number 9, assisted by Dowd and Jensen. And then Seattle scores at 16:56 and first in the second period. But then Sherry scores and gets his 13th with a power play goal, assisted by Wilson and Ovechkin. Ovechkin gets number 34 with the power play goal 47 seconds into the 3rd period. And then we have Sherry scoring with a empty netter at 17:50 for a 5-2 win. 3 stars, Ovechkin, 100%, Wilson and Sherry. So this was another fantastic game to see. And Connor Sherry, for me, I almost loved seeing him in the second game as much as I did the first game. It's both, they were fantastic for him, but this game was yeah, way to go, way to carry it over. Just good vibes, good playing, smart hockey. It was great to see. But that Wilson goal in the beginning just kind of set off, I think, the whole attitude and momentum for the whole game.
Yeah, for sure. So as Carol was alluding to, I really do like our it's Axel is his name. So it's AJR, is that right?
AJR, yeah.
Yeah. So he's fast as hell. He's like a faster
like
Hagelin.
him.
I
And
like
he's
him
quiet.
a lot. Yeah. But those lines, like I was just looking at the lines for that night, you have the OV Kuzi Wilson, the classic top line now. You got that Mantha Backstrom Oshie line, which feels so much more complete now that the Mantha's on that line. People are starting to see why I like him. He's making a lot of good moves, a lot of heavy moves. The scoring's going to happen for him. I really do believe it'll come. But he's making space for Oshie and Backstrom to work, which I think is just as important as scoring himself. He's kind of doing the Tom Wilson thing on the other side, right? So, because Oshie is where Wilson is. And so they kind of flip-flop it, which is good. And then there's that question. I like McMichael. Some people are thinking Sprong should get some more playing time. Sprong's good too. So there's like a really tough situation there between it's McMichael, Eller, and they usually switching between Sprong or Sherry. But Sprong could play the other side too. But McMichael's been playing well as well. So it's tough. We've got a lot of good players that can slot in the third line. I'm so happy that Eller is playing well from the center position there. And then you have AJF, as we were talking about, Dowd and Hathaway on that fourth line. And I think that fourth line could stay. I think I feel really bad for Hagelin with the eye injury. We do not know when he is going to come back. It is pretty serious, and you could even hear some of the players talking about it in the post game, that he's really in the forefront of a lot of their minds. So I hope that he gets, I hope he regains everything he needs to in that eye. I mean, it's a serious injury.
That's serious
for sure. But I'm just really happy with how it played. This was a classic trap game. I'm happy we won up 2-0. I did not like that they tied it 2-2. Connor Sherry showed up on the power play, which was such a key goal to regain momentum in that second period. And then Ovi early in the third, a carryover penalty. From the second, I feel like we rarely score in the carryover, but so I'm really kind of happy to see it happen. I always feel like the penalty happens over an intermission, and like it almost always doesn't work out for us, even with a fresh ice. But I see it work for other teams, but it just doesn't seem to happen for us. So I'm happy that it did this time. And then Connor Sherry getting the empty net, and he worked hard for it too. And I thought a really great game, and we should beat an expansion team who's been terrible all season, but we'd already lost in Seattle to them. So it was important that we get this big victory. And now Ovechkin has 2 goals in 2 games against Seattle. So that's kind of cool.
There you go.
Carol, any other thoughts on it?
This was an interesting game. Like you said, they started out with a 2-0 lead, and Seattle got back into it. And it's also ironic that they beat them 5-2 because they lost to Seattle 5-2 early in the season. This game was definitely a good game for them to, come back from, like you said, having a 2-0 lead and getting it tied back up. They got an early goal in the second period to get, tie the game up. And with OV getting an early goal in the third on the power play, I feel like that solidified the game for them. Pretty much, took all of Seattle's hopes away. Double V had another great game. Had a 939 save percentage, gave up 2 goals on 31 shot attempts. It was just, you see the hustle, you see the fight, you see the determination in this team now that everybody's back healthy. And now, with Double V playing the way he's played in the last 2 games, even the game against Toronto, he didn't, play bad. He took the loss, but he didn't give up all of those goals. So I think that if he continues to play like this and this team continues to play defense and the heavy game and the net presence game, then they can be very dangerous. And they have to get their team locked in because you see Carolina, you got to look at Pittsburgh. They're now second in the division now. And those 2 teams are clicking right now. They had the same issue. Well, Pittsburgh had the same issues with being injured early. Now they got Malkin back and got their pieces back, and now they're on a tear. So this team needs to, get in the groove. There's a month and 2 weeks, 3 weeks left in the season. They're in fourth place in the division, eighth in the conference. So now they're holding on to the wild card spot. They have a 10-point lead over the next team that's behind them. So, I mean, now is the time for them to step it up, get some consistency, and get the defense locked in. And if Double V continues to play like he's been playing, they can go on a nice hot streak. And it's definitely going to start with this road trip that's coming up that we about to break down.
Yeah, let me quickly break down what the games are, and then I'll get both of your takes. And we're going to do it just for speed. I'm going to go through all three games, and then I'll let you guys break down all three games, each one of you.
Sure.
So the Calgary one is at 9:00 tomorrow, Tuesday, March 8th. It's at Calgary. This is an important game because it's Ovi and Nick's 1,000th game together, which is incredible. That means that Ovechkin will have only not played in 36 games of Backstrom's career, which is just like remarkable to me. 1,000 out of 1,036.
Yeah.
I was looking at that. I was like, wow. We talk about how many games Ovi's been able to show up, but I mean, it's basically Backstrom's entire career. So
amazing.
That's really cool that they will hit that milestone. Nicholas Backstrom's also very close to 1,000 points, and he would become the second Capital in history to do that. And I know that if you're watching our Twitch feed, we have got Ovi and Backstrom, up there. We also have them behind Carol and Anna as well. But just some pivotal things that might happen this week, and so things that we'll be looking forward to. And then a back-to-back game against a tough Edmonton team, Wednesday, March 9th. That's an 8:00 start for that one. So it's an earlier West Coast game. So that one's going to be a tough back-to-back. Then they got one night off Thursday, and then they got to go right back to it on Friday at Vancouver. That's a later game. It's a 10:00 game. But to play 3 games in 4 nights against 3 pretty decent teams, it's going to be a really, really tough road swing. I'll start with Carol, and then I'll get Anna's thoughts.
Sure.
This definitely is going to be a test. Like I said, you mentioned back-to-back and, 3 games in 4 nights against tough competition, especially on their home ice. Calgary is one of the hottest teams in the league. I believe they have 4 20-plus goal scorers on their team right now. So this is definitely going to be a test for the Capitals. They're going to have to withstand that first 10 minutes of the first period and not give up any goals because, the crowd's going to be hyped. They're going to be amped up. And it's just about playing Capitals hockey, playing 200-foot game, heavy on the forecheck early in the game. So you start wearing them down. So they start looking over their shoulder when they're going into the boards, trying to go for the puck. And that's when you get turnovers. Edmonton, they're also another high-scoring team that, on a back-to-back is going to be a difficult task after coming off of the Calgary game because Calgary is also a high offensive team, and they play very fast at home. So this is definitely going to be a gut check for this team. If they can pull off 2 wins out of 2 and then have a game going at Vancouver, in the Bruce Boudreau, they've definitely been better. They've been improving, but they, still not there yet. So if they can take care of Calgary and Edmonton, get a day of rest and get ready for the late game against Vancouver, if they can pull a 3-win week off of this road trip, that to me, that'd say a lot. 2-1, I'll still be happy, but
yeah, I mean,
I 3-0.
I'd be happy too. I mean, I'm looking at the Canucks. They beat the Rangers in New York 5-2. They beat the Islanders on the island. They beat one in Toronto. They beat Calgary 7-1, and their only loss is a kind of a strange one to New Jersey 7-2. So we got to hope that Vancouver team shows up. But the other 4 games, very solid.
Yeah.
And what sucks is Edmonton is going to have a lot of rest, versus us is going to have a back-to-back night. Vancouver has gotten a lot of rest this week and only going to have 1 game on a Wednesday before seeing us on a Friday. They're going to have rest. And meanwhile, we're just going to have these tired legs. What do you see, Anna?
I'm just kind of hoping for the best, to be honest. I think I'm just wanting to ride that, Kraken win, Carolina win, and they're in a good place right now with some healthy players that we needed back. So Calgary, I mean, you're going to have Johnny Hockey. All right. He's just one person. I think we'll be okay with them. They are 33, 14, and 7. So bring it. The next night, though, I have to say I'm a little like, this could be that one game where the back-to-back is like maybe not our thing, but it's okay. You've got Connor McDavid playing, but the Oilers are 30, 22, and 4. So, it again, like I said, I went into last week playing with the Caps going up against Carolina, thinking that was like, I didn't even know who was going to show up, to be honest. Like, this could have been a really terrible game. It could have been like a 7-0, like, oh God, what happened to the Capitals? And they showed up, they played, and it was 60 minutes and they were flipping amazing. And so that's what I'm kind of hoping for in Canada. Like, let's just rally. Why not? But I agree, you're going to get to the Canucks and you've got 20, 33, and 6. But my big concern with them is who they put between the pipes, whether it's Demko or Halak, and both fantastic goalies. So I'm looking for a 2-1 series, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I would be ecstatic with that. I see it at 1 and 2, but I'm hoping you guys are right, of course. But like, this seems brutal to me.
It's a lot.
I am scared for the worst possible scenario. So like, I hope we're 2-1, but this is going to be a rough one.
I mean, this team, has a good mix of veterans and young guys, and the veterans know what needs to be done and know how to win on the road. And
I'm just talking about pure exhaustion, man. Just three games in 4 nights and
traveling. They trained for this. Over the last couple of weeks, they've only had 2 games, 3 games. So now they have 3 games, in the 4 days when they had 3 games in 7 days. They're athletes. They should be able to handle it. This is their job. They train their bodies for situations like this. This is kind of like the playoffs. You'll have, one, boom, another one, then you have a day off, then you travel. Granted, they're traveling in between the 2 games, but you still get rest in the travel. It's all about getting on the ice, resting your body, doing what you do to be an athlete. And exhaustion doesn't play in your mind. Once you get on that ice and the adrenaline kicks in and you take that first hit against the Bulls, exhaustion goes out the window.
Right. Well, it's gonna be interesting to see who's the backup goalie, because someone's gonna have to play at one of those games. Double V can't play all 3. Like, it's just.
But I thought that's what they called up for call. I thought.
Yeah, they did, but I just be interested to see if that's what they end up with. Do they do a switcheroo? Bring Copley in?
Copley should play.
Yeah, I think so too.
I would be like 100% on board heading to Canada with Vanacek number 1 and Fucale number 2. Like, that to me would just be ideal, and it's not anything against Sammy, but I think there's something. I will say there is something about the Capitals playing stronger in front of the net, just in general, when Vitek's between the pipes. So I don't know. There's just something, and it's no disrespect to Sammy.
Sammy's been giving up soft goals. Like in that Toronto game, he gave up 2 soft goals. That's why he got pulled. So I mean, I don't know if it need to be a change. Look at what Varlamov, once he left here, Colorado, New York, he's been playing stellar. So the scenery, and I know you love him, Robbie, but I mean, we've seen what he's done. He's given the opportunity to be the number 1 guy. Granted, last year COVID and all that stuff, but he didn't take care of himself. Though he didn't get it, he was out, doing whatever. So I just think, I feel confident with Double V. We saw what he did last year when he came in to fill in for Sammy, and when Lundqvist, had the heart issue. And we saw what happened when he was locked in, when he was playing on a daily basis. He was killing it. So I just think if he can start getting consistency out there and the team has confidence playing in front of him, I think that, there's been questions about the youth of our goalies and will they be, good enough to go on a long run. I think if you give him the confidence and put him back there and they continue to play the defense they're playing and he continues to play like he's playing, I think they could, get a nice rhythm going.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I mean, I'm excited. It's important to work your workhorse, but not overwork them, right? So there's a fine balance between, like, you got to get the other guys in there. you can't play him 3 nights in a row. I know there'd be one night off, but like it's too much on his body. Even if he performed the back-to-back and was amazing, I still would say you don't play him in the third game.
Which I think you bring Fucali up. So
right. So hopefully he plays that middle game against Edmonton and proves something. But like that'll be a really interesting matchup for sure. Well, we have run over on time, but I've loved our discussion. Anna, I know that you guys are doing Women's Month over at the Power Play Point podcast. So happy early International Women's Day. It's tomorrow. Just let people know real quickly what's going on in the Power Play Point podcast. And
oh my gosh, I wish I had more information to tell you, but yesterday was my daughter's birthday party, so I wasn't on the show. But I know Gil had 2 amazing female guests on who are huge Caps fans, and he is awesome in wanting to like have female supporters and fans on. So if there's anybody on Sports on the Hill that wants to come on Power Play Point podcast, contact Gil or myself on our Facebook page, and we would love to have you on.
That's really cool that you're highlighting women in hockey all month long. So we appreciate having you join us all season long. And click on sportsothp.com, put the Power Play or the podcast partners button, and then the Power Play Point podcast is there as well. But Anna, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have you on next week while we celebrate our 6-year special and hopefully some victories in Canada.
Let's hope so. Have a great rest of the show, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Good. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Carol, real quick. I know there's some football talk. Maybe we're trying to give away the farm to get a quarterback. What quick news hits do you got before we let you go?
Yeah, well, the report that you showed me, I haven't had that confirmed, but they offered 5 first-round picks for Russell Wilson. I can't confirm that, and I honestly can't believe that for a 33-year-old quarterback that they will offer 5 first-round picks. But yes, they did offer some first-round picks for Russell Wilson with Seattle. And Seattle vehemently said, no, we're not looking to trade Russell Wilson. They're trying to, work it out. Wilson has a no trade clause, and he's changed his social media, profile picture to his old days at Virginia. So a lot of folks were, trying to link 1 and 1 to make 3. But Seattle shut that down. Also, it's been confirmed that Brian Fitzpatrick will not be with the team next year. There's a rumor that the team is interested in Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure how that's going to play out with his legal issues. He also has a no trade clause, and one of the teams that he said he was not waiting for was coming to Washington. So I don't know where that's coming from necessarily. It's a rumor. Also, we all know they're looking to extend Terry McLaurin. They were actually, Coach Rivera and his agent were actually talking this past weekend at the Combine to open up negotiations. Hopefully they get him locked in soon, because we don't want that man touching free agency. They're also talking to Landon Collins about restructuring his deal. Also talking to Eric Flowers and a couple of other players about their deal, because they have a nice size cap number that they're looking to get down and get more cap space. I believe I saw the cap came out today. It's going to be around $206 million, which is a $25 million increase from last year. They're looking to exercise a 5th-year option on Montez Sweat. Also, Deron Payne is going to his upcoming 5th-year extension. So that's going to be a question mark about are they going to extend him. Tim Settle is also about to be an unrestricted free agent. There's been some rumor of Deron Payne possibly being packaged in a trade deal for a quarterback. We saw the blow up last year with him and Allen. We know they just extended Allen. He had one of his best season as a pro. So not saying that Deron Payne isn't good, but when you have financial stuff going on, he's going to require a big payday. You still have Chase Young. You got to worry about Montez Sweat. Cam Curl will be coming up soon. So you got to be ahead of the ball, ahead of the game when it comes to these contracts and everything. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. And the last piece that I have is that with the quarterback situation, Malik Willis out of Liberty has turned some heads at the Combine. And there's been, some rumblings that he might drop the number 11, which is the Washington's pick. And Rivera really likes him. He in the interview he likened him to Cam Newton when he was recruiting. Talking to him when he was getting drafted. So keep a lookout for that. Like Robbie said, we're having our 6-year anniversary next week. Then we normally take off a week or two, before the season 7 starts in April. But the draft is around the corner, so be on the lookout because I'll try to coordinate with Janae to get some pre-draft talk with all the NCAA stuff that he covers and get some insight on Mr. Willis because I have no idea who he is because I don't watch college. So but that's my piece for Washington Commanders talk. And
Nice.
we'll get ready to get out of here on my feed. I know Robbie has the NBA Roundtable waiting to talk about the Wizards week that was. I saw that they're like number 11 seed and
Yeah, they're right on the outside. It's the Caps are right on the inside, and the Wizards are right on the outside. And they both went 2-1 this week, so some parallels in their trajectory. But we got a new player has finally played for his first game for the team, and he looks pretty good in Porzingis. So I'm excited.
My partner, my partner NBA. I saw a little bit.
Yeah,
with the Porzingis trade, I saw he played some 5-on-5 and didn't feel any soreness and said that he would probably be in the lineup. And I saw Bradley Beal was talking about re-signing with the team. I saw something about the Supermax contract is like what $225 million or something crazy. So yeah, I'll let you guys break it down if you're watching my feed and you do want to check out the NBA because I'm about to get off with some videos and let them continue. You can jump over to sportsothp.com or you can jump over to SportsOTHP on Facebook or Robbie's Twitch feed, which I'm not sure.
twitch.tv/RobbieG_SportsOTHP. So there you go. And also on sportsothp.com, you click the socials button. It'll have all of our links to our Instagrams, to our Facebooks, to our Twitters, to the Twitch feed as well. So that's probably the best way for everybody to check us out using the new socials button. We'll have an updated website for season 7 coming up. But yeah, next week, I'm super excited for our big 6-year celebration. We call it a streamiversary or a Twitchiversary on Twitch. I haven't done all 6 years on Twitch, but so we'll call it a streamiversary. But it'll be awesome. I want to give a quick little shout out to Carly, Champ, Andy, all subscribing on my channel today. So that's really awesome as well. And anyone can always come by and catch Pokemon and play games on our Twitch channel as well. I really appreciate everyone for stopping by over there. But thank you, Carol, for helping us break down hockey and some football Commanders news. I'm going to bring in my roundtable now, but I appreciate you as always. And we'll talk more next week to celebrate 6 years.
All right, man. Y'all have a good rest of the show. I'm about to get out of here. And y'all have fun. And I'll catch you next week for a 6-year anniversary show.
All right,
See
thank
you
you.
live from the lab, and I'm out.
All right, thank you, Champ. All right, thank you, Carol. And then see Champ here. We got Tim here. We got Brian Brennan. We got Arun. We have the full 5 people.
The prodigal son has returned. Brian Brennan, the prodigal son has returned.
I know, Brian. He's got a top 3-star NHL player on his team. I don't know if he even knows this, but your goalie.
Is it Igor?
Yeah, your goalie got a top. You got
That's
a top 3 position. And this week, I'm trying to remember if it was the 2nd star or the 3rd star. But congratulations to you. It's rare for me. And I'm not congratulating the Rangers fan on the hockey segment. You'll notice I'm doing it in the basketball one. But congratulations. Welcome back. I know we'll talk a little soccer at the end of this segment. It's really great to have the full team here. And then we'll once again have a big celebration next week for our 6-year special where hopefully we'll all be back. And then I'm also trying to get EJ back on to do a March Madness segment with us, and also trying to get Davey, the sandwich guy, to come join us again, and have people from all different time periods of the show. I have Brian and Arun if you guys want to talk March Madness as well. And of course, Champ and you and Tim can give your thoughts as well. We'll also have a live game next week against the Suns with the Wizards. And so that'll be exciting. So we may have Champ and Tim stay on the line to give us breaking news from that game as well. So lots to talk about. That'll be the 10 o'clock hour. The 9 o'clock hour, we'll preview that game. We'll talk about this week Wizards games, and we'll also talk a little bit of NHL action up north from Canada that we're just breaking down.
Hey, Robbie.
That last segment. Yes.
It's the Warriors, not the Suns.
It's the Warriors, not the Suns. That's a good call. Okay, well that I don't know if that's better or
down
worse.
20, we're down 30, we're down 40.
Yeah, so yeah, so that might be worse. Either way, it'll be interesting, and hopefully we keep it close. Brian, how have you been?
I've been doing great. It feels good to be back on Sports on the Hill after a few weeks away. Good to be back with all you guys. Hope you're all doing well.
Awesome. Yeah, and Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for college basketball to end and go to the tourney. So good month of sports.
I'll ask you this. Did you watch any of the UNC versus Duke game?
Yeah, I watched that collapse by Duke. It was pretty nice. And yeah, I can't wait to talk about the Wizards beating the Knicks.
It was 2 months ago, man. It was 2 months ago.
You haven't been on since. We've been waiting for that moment.
Move past it. It was 2 months ago, and both teams suck, by the way. So forget about it. Arun.
Let's break down the box score of that one, though.
No, we'll bring it up right now.
Please.
And Champ, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Did a 5-hour stream yesterday to cover AEW Revolution, which was an awesome pay-per-view, by the way. And so I'm ready to talk about this week, which I believe a lot of us called that these were the games we're going to win.
Yeah, this was interesting. It's rare that, hold on, I gotta switch the view over here for the people on our Zoom feed. Go there and click that button and see if that fixes it. It does. All right, so trying to figure out how I'll get everybody in the box. So I'm going to become the talking head. I'm going to focus on you for the live feed. Anyway, so the first game, here we go, is on Tuesday against the Pistons. It was a good start for the Wizards. They outscored them 27-24 to start. Detroit came back, outscored them 40-36 in the second. The Wizards outscored them by 3 in the third. And 1 in the fourth for a 3-point victory. I'm just going to let you guys each break it down. I'll start off with Champ. What were some of your thoughts on this game?
I mean, you see it right there on the screen that, you had multiple players in double figures. This game was so close throughout. And once again, as the message has been from me for this entire season has been that third quarter has been very, very critical for this Wizards team in terms of wins and losses. Anytime they can outscore an opponent in the third quarter, they usually win those games 9 times out of 10. And here, even though they didn't outscore them by much, they outscored them enough that it led to pretty much the end result. They ended up winning by 3. But, with all the performance and scoring that you got, that's the way you win games, is you score well, you play, pretty good defense, and you win these type of games. And this was a game that they needed to win because they got to start making the move towards those final 3 or 4 spots in the playoffs positioning. Otherwise, they're going to be on the outside looking in.
All right, Tim, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, the Wizards and Pistons are pretty much in the bottom of the East at this point, so not the best game, but the Wizards are a bit better. They barely eked out this victory. I think the interesting thing was just they've got Neto and Sato now, and they both are going to be fighting for minutes. They have 3 point guards that can play a lot, but in this game, both players played really well and got good contributions. So, I think the rotation's sort of set now if they're healthy, but they kind of have an extra point guard if everybody's healthy. So that'll be something to look at. But the Wizards really needed this win. The Pistons play very hard, but they're just a bad team, and the Wizards got it done when it mattered. So it was good to see Sato back, though, and have an important game.
Yeah. Brian, what are some of your thoughts on the Pistons?
Yeah, so the Pistons obviously are not a very good team, but they do have some players who I think are better than what their record indicates. Like Cade Cunningham was the number 1 pick in the draft. He had 20 points in this game. Sadiq Bey started to steal Arun's thunder. He went to Villanova and to nearby Sidwell Friends here in D.C. He had a good game as well. He had 19 points. He's been a good player for the Pistons this year. So is Jeremy Grant. He's been their consistent best player, but a really good all-around scoring effort from the Wizards in this game. All 5 starters for the Wizards scored in double figures. They also got 3 guys in double figures off the bench, most notably Thomas Bryant, TB, had 16 points. So I think this is a win the Wizards expected to get, but overall a good offensive performance from this team. A lot of consistency throughout the lineup in this one.
For sure. Arun, final thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think everyone touched on it. The Pistons have been struggling, although they're not that bad recently. They've won 6 of their past 8 games, and they just beat the Atlanta Hawks in overtime. So you take a win where you can get it. 2 locals, Steve Bay and Jeremy Grant from the area. So that was pretty cool. And as Brian mentioned, the number 1 overall pick, Cade Cunningham. So they're finally rounding into shape. They're a young team, so they really struggled. The Wizards still almost have twice as many wins as the Pistons. So still nice to get a win, but the gap between these teams is much closer, especially with Bradley Beal out. But a win is a win, and good win for the Wizards.
For sure. All right, let's get into the next matchup against the Hawks. So the Hawks came out on fire, scored 33 points in the first. Wizards only scored 25. The Wizards did better in the second, but still allowed the Hawks to score 35 points this time, but the Wizards scored 34. The third was dead even at 25. The Wizards kind of came back 30-24 and made a game of it. In fact, they were not leading at any point in this game, I believe, until the final minute. They got very close. I don't think they took the lead, but I think it was like a 1-point game maybe. And they ended up losing 117-114. I'll start off with Arun this time. What were some of your thoughts on this?
Yeah, DeAndre Hunter had an excellent game, 26 points, and Trae Young had 25 points. And even though this game was like a 3-point game down the stretch, it didn't really feel that close because, as you mentioned, the Wizards never had the lead. They closed the third quarter on a 13-5 run. And after that, it was just like the Wizards did make it kind of close towards the end of the game. But it just wasn't enough. And Kyle Kuzma, 22 points, and KCP had an excellent game, 28 points, 10 of 12 from the field, Rui with a good game off the bench. But overall, not enough defense, especially in that third quarter where Atlanta went on a run. And it was a game, these games, they're pretty close together, the Hawks and the Wizards. And the Hawks are below 500. So it was a kind of a winnable game, but Atlanta has talent. They did make the conference finals last year, and it's not. It was bad that they let this game get away from them.
For sure. Brian, what are your thoughts on this game?
Oh, yeah, this was definitely a very good game. It's hard to believe the Wizards didn't have the lead at any point in the game, and it was still that close. But the Hawks, like Arun said, they have been struggling a bit this year. They are under 500. They're ahead of the Wizards. They're one position ahead of the Wizards in the standings for the play-in. But they do have a balance. Like they have a lot of guys who can score. I mean, we saw it last year when they were in the playoffs. They're still not too far off from that team. You even saw it in this game with Bogdanovich getting 17 points off the bench. And yeah, like Arun said, KCP had a great game for the Wizards. Kuzma had another good game. And Rui Hachimura had another good one off the bench, but not enough consistency throughout the lineup. And the defense, like Arun said, definitely hurt them. So a tough loss. Could come back to haunt them if they want to make the play in, but the Hawks are a good team.
For sure. I was just showing people the updated conference standings if they wanted to see them. Tim, what were some of your thoughts on this game?
So this game was very poorly officiated. Trae Young had more free throws than the entire Wizards team. The Hawks had 34 free throws to 9 for the Wizards, and Kuzma was really pissed off after the game. And I do think that, the Wizards aren't going to get calls without Beal, so that's not going to help. But, I mean, just the Hawks are a little bit better. The Wizards are playing a bit shorthanded. I think if Porzingis played in this game, the Wizards may have won potentially because he did make the difference, I think, in the last game. But it just, not great because I think obviously the Hawks have, a a little bit of a following after last year, and they've got a superstar on their team, so they will get calls. But players like Kuzma deserve to get free throws too. I mean, it's just kind of crazy to see a discrepancy like that. But at the same time, I know the Wizards had a chance to win in the last minute, and they played really hard. So you can't blame the effort. And I think the coach is getting a little bit more out of the talent that they do have now than a couple weeks ago. So that's good to see. It's just the Wizards aren't quite good enough to win against playoff level teams at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And Champ, what are your thoughts on this game?
The score indicates that this was a close game, but as always, we have to say looks are very deceiving. This game was never really that close for the Wizards. They were down as many as 14 points, and where you're trying to come up from underneath like that against a team that was in the playoffs and made a deep run last year with the caliber of talent that they have, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win a game like this, especially when you have Trae Young going absolutely off and you only have 4 players in double figures. You're not going to win very many games like this, and that's what happened here. I think we all figured that they were going to lose this game, but they did get close towards the end. But by then, in this Wizards fans' humble opinion, it was too little, too late. And here we are now, another team that we have to catch up to have a chance to get into that play-in has beaten us.
Yeah, we call it in hockey, it's kind of like we call it a 4-point night. This is a 2-win kind of thing, because like instead of gaining one on them, they've gained one on us, and so like that becomes tough. You got to really beat the teams right in front of you in the standings, for sure. All right, let's get into the good game with Porzingis' first game as a Wizard. The Wizards started off pretty good. They outscored Indiana 30-26. The Indiana came roaring back, outscored them 35-27. In the third, the Wizards put up one of the highest scoring offensive quarters I've seen for a while for them, 39 points, and held the Pacers to 26 to really flip the score on them. And then it was a pretty even, high-scoring fourth quarter where the Wizards outscored them 37-36 and it ended up being a 10-point victory, 133-123. They said they were going to put a minutes limit on Porzingis, and they actually stayed true to their word. For him to score 25 points in 21 minutes is very impressive. When I saw they score 25 points, I was like, they must not have kept to the minutes limit, right? And but they did, and so they really let a lot of players play in this game. We got to see a little bit from a lot of different players, and I think that's what was key, especially in that big run in the third quarter. I'm going to start with you, Champ. What were some of your thoughts on this game?
What have I been saying the last few weeks? The third quarter, right? The third quarter. Look what they did in the third quarter. And that's why they won this game. They dominated the third quarter. That's their either their Achilles heel or their kryptonite, or that's where they get their spinach. Is the third quarter. Either they go off in the third quarter and they go on to win, or they fizzle out in the third quarter and then they lose. Porzingis hasn't played a game since January 29th, yet he comes in here and in 21 minutes, 25 points. His first 2 points was on an alley-oop that was a tip-in and not a dunk. And then he just goes off from there, had a really good defensive block. Dude played absolutely phenomenal, and he had help around him. They shot over 50% from the field. That's going to get it done a lot. Bottom line is, this was another game that we all said they would win because they needed this win, and they got this win. And this is something great to have as you're about to go on a 4-game West Coast road trip, is to get a big win like this at home with your biggest acquisition this season making his debut and playing the way that he did.
So, Tim, I saw a stat somewhere that said Porzingis basically outscored Bertans over multiple games, and so I thought that was kind of funny. But I also know that we had to get rid of Dinwiddie, who's been playing very well in Dallas. So we really needed him to have a good game to at least. And I get that you're trying to trade for a shorter contract, not having all these years on it, but he still needs to produce at some point, because you need a important player to get people excited about the team. So, Tim, what are some of your thoughts on some of that?
Yeah, it's interesting because the Wizards generally have had their best players, be guards. So it's been a long time since they've had an exciting big man. Obviously, Porzingis has a lot of baggage and he gets hurt a lot, but just the talent is undeniable. It was crazy when Kutcher was talking about how when he shoots a three, like most players would be considered guarded because a guy is one step away, but because he's so tall and his wingspan, it's like an unguardable shot. So he got a lot of 3-pointers off and he shot well. He played very hard on defense, which was nice to see. He looked really healthy, which is good. I just wonder a little bit about the rotation. I mean, it's not a big deal, but Thomas Bryant Jr. didn't play at all, and they started Gill, which was a little weird, but it worked, and it's a good problem to have. And I think we're going to see Gafford play power forward with him, so that's going to be an interesting big lineup. And they just have a lot of possibilities with their lineup now. They can play really big. They can play 6-7 and above for all 5 spots on the floor. So, they can give some teams problems now, but it's just it's good to see a big man in DC. You have to hope he stays healthy because he's definitely really talented.
Yeah. I don't know, Brian, I know that you don't like this guy. So I know that you've got an inherent bias against him. But I was happy to see that we finally, size has always been an issue for the Wizards, right? I mean, from the outside looking in. And what are some of your thoughts now with the potential lineups? Do you think the Wizards make a run into the playoffs here? Do you think they fall short? Do you think that they should still tank? They're in that weird spot in that 11 seed. What do you, from the outside looking in, what do you believe the Wizards should do the rest of the season here?
Well, just going back to Porzingis for a second. Yeah, I've made it pretty well known my thoughts on him over the years. But at the same time, when the Wizards made the trade for him last month, I actually thought that was a good move for the Wizards. I thought it was a move that could really work out because I felt like Porzingis definitely needed a change of scenery from Dallas. Dallas, for the next 10, 15 years, it's going to be Luka Doncic's team. And I felt like Porzingis needed a place where he could at least feel like the man. And I feel like Washington, D.C. can at least give him that opportunity. And, I didn't know what to expect going into this first game, but he really killed it against the Pacers. That was – I don't think anybody expected 25 points from Porzingis in this game. I have to give him credit. That was a great performance in only 21 minutes, too. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with his minutes moving forward, like you said. If he keeps playing like that, I feel like you almost have to play him more. But I don't know what the Wizards do. I kind of feel like just from the way I've looked at the Eastern Conference as a fan of another team that's on the outside of the playoff bubble looking in right now. It feels like those 10 teams are set. Like that's going to be the 10 teams that make the playoffs. But if Porzingis can have a nice run here, there's no reason to think that they can't at least have a strong second half in the season, as far as I'm concerned. And end the season strong, you build something going into next year. I think that's the best case scenario for the Wizards moving forward, at least this year.
Yeah, Arun, I didn't watch all this game, but I heard that he played more at the tail end, right? Like they didn't, they saved some of his minutes. It wasn't like they used them all in the first half, and he was pretty effective in that scenario. Do you think that's something they continue to do?
I think they'll probably work him in more. He'll probably take more of Anthony Gill's minutes and maybe even some of Rui's minutes, who didn't really play that well. I think Porzingis, this trade was really good for the Wizards because they didn't even have to give a draft pick to get Porzingis. In fact, Dallas sent them a draft pick, and I don't think he's going to shoot from 3 like he did against the Pacers. But if he even knocks down 40% of his threes, then that's a game changer. He's only shooting 30% from 3 with Dallas, and I think everyone alluded to that him and Luka didn't really seem to get along. And I even though Dinwiddie is playing a lot better with Dallas, I still think it's a good trade for the Wizards given the upside of the trade. And Dinwiddie's allowed to be the third guard behind Brunson and Doncic, so he's able to excel. Whereas here, Dinwiddie was asked to be the number 1 point guard, and the Wizards really and Dinwiddie wasn't stepping up to the plate, and he's blaming Wes Unseld Jr. for him. He was told to be more passive, but I believe one press conference, Wes Unseld Jr. told him he needs to shoot the ball more. And I don't know. I think Dinwiddie maybe he's just recovering from that ACL injury. Either way, I think that contract, he's getting paid like $17 million a year. So I don't think he's playing great with Dallas. So it's good for, I think there have been several trades that the Wizards have done with Dallas. They traded for Jameson. They got Devin Harris. We traded Caron Butler and Brendan Haywood and Deshaun Stevenson. They ended up winning a title, and it worked. It's basically, they've been like win-win trades. And in this game, Porzingis played well. He brought a lot of confidence to Satoransky and Denny, who both had double figures. And Satoransky also had a really nice dunk. And they were Porzingis and Satoransky were talking it up on the sidelines. It's good that they're developing some chemistry. I even think Denny was playing with more confidence in this game. The defense was pretty awful. Even the second half, the Wizards won because they scored 76 points, but they gave up 64 points. I don't know if it's sustainable. I think they should probably tank. They will probably try to win, but I don't think they'll make the playoffs. As Brian said, to the top 10 should make the playoffs unless some crazy injuries happen, which can't be ruled out.
Yeah, for sure. Let me break down the upcoming games for us, and I'll give each one of you a game. So the next one's against the Clippers. It's 10:30 in LA on Wednesday, March 9th. And then 2 days later, they play in the same building, but this time against the Lakers, also at 10:30, once again on Friday. And then on Saturday, they got a back-to-back to go to Portland. So Saturday at 10 p.m. And then next Monday, so we'll recap those 3 games and we'll preview a game against the Warriors. It'll be a 10 o'clock start time, and we'll be talking about that live game while we talk March Madness next week as well. So I'll give one game to each one of you. I'm going to start off with Arun. Which game do you want to talk about?
We're going to have to talk about that Lakers game. LeBron James, I believe the Lakers are also in a similar position as the Wizards. They need to play for a playoff spot, because if you miss the playoffs, given that they had championship expectations, that'll be disastrous. They're going to be without Anthony Davis. Russell Westbrook has been pretty bad this year, and well, up to his standard. Most people would have said you're crazy if you said Kyle Kuzma's going to have a better year than Russell Westbrook, and that's pretty much what's been happening. It hasn't been a good fit, which was pretty predictable. It's similar to former Wizard Larry Hughes joining LeBron James, and that triple-double machine isn't going to work with LeBron gobbling up the rebounds. And I think the Wizards I think they're going to win this game. Kuzma and KCP are going to play super hard, and the Lakers, they're currently on a downward. They're playing pretty badly. In fact, they're losing to the Spurs right now by 7 points. So I predict the Wizards will beat the Lakers.
All right, Brian, between the Clippers, Trailblazers, and Warriors, which game do you want to talk about?
I'm going to take the Clippers, just so I can point out that they lost to the Knicks last night and ended the Knicks' 6-game losing streak in the process. So the Clippers are a tough team to read this year. They've owned the Lakers when they've played them this year. I mean, those matchups haven't even really been close. It's kind of interesting, like that. It's like almost they've become the top dog in LA this year with the Lakers' struggles. But at the same time, you know, with Paul George and Kawhi out, they're a tough team to read. Kawhi Leonard's been out the entire season. Paul George has been out pretty much the entire season since close to the start of the season. And last night they got pretty much manhandled by a Knicks team that was playing mostly younger players, and the younger players shined against this Clippers team. So I think the Wizards will definitely have a chance in this one. First game of the road trip. I think the Wizards will be up for the task in this one.
Sounds good. All right, Tim, I'm going to give you the Trailblazers game just because you have a history with Portland.
I was going to pick it anyway. A good call. Yeah, the Trailblazers are a really bad team this year. They have a ton of injuries and people out. They traded McCollum, Lillard's out, Simmons is out right now. I see they're currently losing in the fourth quarter by like 34 points to the T-Wolves. So although they did win in DC earlier this year with a pretty depleted roster, I think the Wizards will take this game. Just Portland's not playing for anything, and the Wizards win in Portland pretty often. So I definitely pick them. This schedule looks pretty hard this week, but I do think the Wizards can snag probably at least 2 games. So it could be worse.
Sounds good. You think 2 out of the 3 we're talking about? Yeah.
Well, I was including. I think they're going to lose to the Warriors, but
you think 2 out of 4? Okay.
Yeah, but I think 2 out of 4 is very doable.
Yeah, Champ. What are your thoughts on the Warriors game and the overall? How do you think they're going to do this week?
I'm going to go a little bit more optimistic and say 3-1. I think the Warriors game will be the one that they lose because, I mean, the Warriors are second in the Western Conference, which is one of the toughest conferences in the NBA. Though the Warriors are not expected to have Steph or Draymond, they still are a talented team. And, I mean, coming from Portland, they have a day of rest, and then they got to go back into Cali and play it. This is going to be a tough one. They might play this one a lot closer than people are expecting, but I feel like they're going to lose this one. But I feel like they're going to win the other 3. Though the back-to-back is going to be a little bit dicey, but I feel like they're going to be up to the task. So I'm saying 3-1.
Wow.
Just to interject, Draymond Green said he's probably going to come back in that game against the Wizards. He said today on his podcast he's targeting the Wizards game as his return day. So Draymond Green will probably play in the Warriors game.
Well, shit.
All right, so we're gonna go to Brian next to get his overall thoughts on how do you think they'll do over the 4 games.
Yeah, I think 3-1 is doable, Champ. I think these are all winnable games. The Clippers are very inconsistent. The Lakers are a mess right now. Portland is not very good. I would say those 3 games are all winnable for the Wizards this week. The Warriors, I should admit, are not playing as great as they have been. Ever since Draymond did get hurt, they've not been as dominant. They've actually let the Suns kind of take a pretty commanding lead for the number 1 seed in the Western Conference this year. So I'm not going to say I don't think they're going to go win the game in San Francisco in the Bay, but I do think that the other 3 games are all certainly winnable. I could see 3-1, but probably more realistically 2-2.
All right, as we start to wrap up the show, Arun, give me your overall thoughts on the week and any final thoughts you have about anything at all.
Yeah, the Warriors are below 500 without Draymond, but as Brian mentioned, he's going to come back. It's pretty interesting that we're talking about trading for another quarterback from 2012, the Washington team, and RG3's book got canceled. So, yeah, other than that, it's pretty much not much going on with RG3. Apparently, he says Trey Lance is going to have a good year, and RG3, maybe Washington's going to try to sign him if they can't get Russell Wilson, although that's probably in RG3's dreams. But anyways, that's all I have for tonight. And thanks for having me on.
But you enjoyed, we talked about at the beginning of the segment.
Arun, I hate you.
Coach Krzyzewski, we just got to talk about it one more time. I love that he went out a loser at Cameron Indoor to the Tar Heels, who, if people don't know, I'm a big Tar Heel fan. I always have been since I was very young. And so nothing gives me so much satisfaction to know, because they blew them out in North Carolina early in the season, and that coach was on the hot seat. And I love the fact that they were able to win that game when no one probably gave them a chance in it. And I hopefully we'll break down some fun stuff with March Madness next week with you, Arun. But I know as a college basketball fan, you had to have enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty presumptive to put your last game, like Coach K's last game, against like UNC, who's like your worst rival. Usually you want to like end like your last home game like on a really happy note. And I guess they typically do beat North Carolina on average, like 60% of the time at home, but it's still like tempting fate. And they were blowing out North Carolina at one point, but I think North Carolina took this game more seriously than Duke did, and it was pretty funny to see Coach K lose. And maybe that's why he's going to call it quits, because he can't really get Duke up for games like this anymore. Maybe they can do better in the tournaments, but it was pretty funny, that they ended up losing this game.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk more college basketball with you hopefully next week, and I hope you have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Tim, I'm going to go to you next. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, I just heard 92 former Dukies watched Duke lose, so that's a lot of sad people. It's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yeah, no, I guess last thing, Brian can talk about it more, but we did watch most of the DC United game together. So I know they have a 2-0 start. They don't look great. They're kind of getting it together, but they're 2-0. So you'll take it.
Yeah, that's actually a good segue. Why don't I'll keep you on the line, Tim, if you want to have any thoughts about it, but I think I have a graphic change here. Let me see if that works. Yeah, there you go. DC United's very first time on the Twitch feed. So Brian, let people know how they did in their first 2 weeks, and then Tim can give any thoughts he has on it as well.
Yeah, so DC United, like Tim said, is 2-0 to start the year. Their first game was against Charlotte FC, which is a completely brand new expansion team in MLS this season. And Charlotte is not very good. They're actually projected to be, from what I've heard from people I know, people I work with, they're supposed to be one of the worst expansion teams maybe ever in like any sport ever. They're that bad. And Charlotte actually took the lead to start their game, but it was wiped out of the VAR review. So it stayed 0-0. And then DC United went and scored 3 straight goals to win the first game of the season against Charlotte, 3-0 at Audi Field, starting the season 1-0 there. And then this week, like Tim said, we watched this game. Tim and I watched this game together until my laptop died. So we missed the ending of the game, including DC United scoring the game-winning goal in the 98th minute against FC Cincinnati. Kind of an ugly game. Cincinnati's another team that's also really bad in MLS. And if you're bad in MLS, you're really, really bad. But DC United does get the win. It's an ugly win, but they'll take it. So they are 2-0 to start the season. Their next game is on Saturday. This upcoming Saturday, the 12th of March. It's at Audi Field. They're playing another fairly bad team in the Chicago Fire. So there's a real possibility that DC United is looking at a 3-0 start to the season. Should be a good rest. I think they have a chance to make the playoffs as long as they keep racking up the wins. You never know in MLS. It's such a tough league, but we'll see. They're off to a great start this year, and yeah, pretty much it when it comes to DC United.
Yeah, it's
and also I just want to say shout out to Charlotte as well, because they also broke the all-time attendance record in MLS this weekend with their first home game. They had 74,000 people at their stadium in Charlotte. It broke the all-time attendance record for MLS. So shout out to them for that. They're still not a very good team, but that's really cool
that they could fill the stadium for a regular season game like that.
I know, and it's impressive.
So how do they do in that game? Did they lose?
Charlotte, they lost 1-0 in the game, 1-0. Yeah,
that's a brutal decision too. So
yeah, tough night in North Carolina sports unless you're a UNC fan.
Right there.
But yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, let people know. I don't know if you're doing your podcast this week, but are you bringing back March Madness next week?
Oh yeah. I am doing the bracket challenge again this year as usual. Guest spot on my podcast and for some other prize that I haven't figured out yet, but I've still got time to figure it out. Probably just be a gift card or something again, but guest spot on my podcast as well, which I am planning on bringing back very soon. A little revised, but looking forward to that. And yeah, thanks for having me on, Robbie. It feels good to be back on Sports on the Hill.
Yes, thank you for being on. Again, you can click the podcast partners button at sportsothp.com. Click the Upon Further Review with Brian Brennan button, and it will take you to all of his latest podcasts. And we'll talk next week a little bit about March Madness as part of our 6-year anniversary special. And I look forward to having you back on, Brian.
Have a good one. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, Tim, any final thoughts on any of the soccer before we let you go?
No, just shout out to Bill Hamid for the shutout, and he might get called up to be the U.S. men's goalie for the qualifiers, I hear.
That'd be awesome to have a DC United player be for Team USA.
Big games. So
yeah,
it'll be fun.
For sure. All right, Tim. Well, thank you for joining us. Hopefully
have a
we'll
good night,
talk to you
guys.
next week. And
Thanks.
Have a good week. All right. Champ, any final thoughts that we have from you in the world of wrestling?
Well, before I get into what we got ahead on the No Spots podcast, big shout out to Monumental Sports, KPMG, Giant Food, and WTOP for combining to raise $100,000 to donate to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society to recognize the advocacy efforts of Dave Johnson. Dave Johnson's a great guy. He found out about his MS diagnosis a couple years ago, and he's still calling Wizards games. Really good guy. I've gotten to meet him a couple of times when I've gone to Wizards games, and he's a genuine nice human being. So great job for those organizations to raise that kind of money. That's a big W right there. And coming up this week with No Spots, Thursday night, myself and Sage are going to be streaming on twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod. The first round, the round of 32 for the New Japan Cup has been completed. It was completed this morning, and the second round begins on Wednesday. So we will cover Wednesday and Thursday's action of the second round on the left side of the bracket there. And then on Saturday on twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, myself and Sith, we will be recapping what was an amazing AEW Revolution pay-per-view, such a great pay-per-view. We're going to be talking about that as well as all the fallout from that, plus WrestleMania 39. This is going to be a fun week. Twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, and on SportsOTHP.com. Click the podcast partners button so you can listen to the audio of those podcasts.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Champ, so much for joining us. I'll give you your shout out for people to check out twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod. Also, click on the Power Play Point podcast button. They can click the No Spots podcast there as well. One of our longest members of the True Radio Network, and I'm excited to celebrate 6 years with you tomorrow. It means that the network is celebrating 7 years, which is really kind of cool. I know that it existed for a little bit over a year before our shows were able to join on the network, but it's a big milestone that I'm happy we're able to keep this network going, and I'm proud to sit by your side and do this every week, and hopefully we'll have you on next week to celebrate 6 years and for season 7 and beyond.
God willing, I'll be here.
Sounds good. Well, tonight I'm not going to do a raid. I appreciate all my mods for hanging out with us tonight. I appreciate all you guys for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate that a lot, and being a part of this with me. And next week I'm super excited again to celebrate 6 years and start season 7 at the beginning of April. Next week we'll break down March Madness, a live basketball game, how the Caps did in Canada. And we'll also, then the next time we'll be the national championship game. So the entire tournament's going to happen during our break, but I know that Carol might have some pop-up shows here and there, but I love all of you guys. Thank you for supporting me. If everyone wants to listen to some good music tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, Carly has a great show. I'm going to give her a quick little shout out.
Yes, indeed. Shout out to Carly.
Yeah, so definitely come join us, 10 o'clock. Also, she's doing a mod appreciation stream on Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning as well. So also check out Primordial Sounds, Andy. I'm excited. Let me do a shout out for him. He's been doing it great, and if you want to catch Pokemon, you can catch those over there as well. But thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm going to end the Facebook feed real quickly. And
Robbie, I just looked at the Twitch stream because I have it on my tablet. I didn't realize you put the No Spots logo on this thing. That's lit.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? I'm gonna try to put more graphics and stuff there, and try to keep on upping the production every week. And we're gonna stop the live stream. Thank you everyone over at Facebook for watching. And we're gonna stop the recording there.
Stopped.
And but I want to thank all of you guys for being a part of it. We'll go to our away screen, but I'll talk to you guys all next week. Have a good one.